Any thoughts from bar essays on a more objective approach?
Okay, so that's a lot of people like to think that it is entirely subjective, but that's not really true. It is. There is obviously always, and anytime there's a essay grading, there's going to be some subjectivity, but there's not really much. Um, the graders go through these calibration sessions, and it works pretty well. So I see score sheets from hundreds of people for every exam, and the vast majority of regrades. So I'll back up a bit. So for the people that are very close to passing, those of you that don't know this, if you're very close to passing, then you get into what's called a regrade, where they send your essays to a second grader, and then the scores from the first grader and the second grader are averaged. So, and then you can see how the two graders compared your grades. So the vast majority of regrades, the grades are basically the same. Vast majority, not, and if they're different, it's maybe just a tiny difference. There are outliers for sure. It does happen, and sometimes there's bigger outliers. So if there's a discrepancy between the first grader and second grader of, like, I think it's 10 points or 15 points, then they send it to a third grader to evaluate what happened. And yes, that does happen, but that happens less than 10% and probably less than 5%. It does happen, but it's not common. So to say that it's entirely subjective, that's not exactly true. They're usually, for the most part, they're usually pretty on point with each other, just because of the calibration sessions make them grade sort of similarly. And if there's a difference between the first and second grader, it's usually 5 points. But yes, it does happen that there are larger differences, which does, they there's not much you can do about that. But that's not common. But it does happen, but it's not common. And if it'll happen on like, let's say you get your score sheets back, it's pretty rare for it to happen on more than one. It'll be one essay max that would happen on. I've seen crazy things for sure, but that's not. It's not common for that to happen. So I would not say it's entirely subjective. I would say they're actually pretty good about it.
Yeah. So as you guys can tell, there's a lot of myths about the bar exam. This is definitely one of those. So thank you for clarifying that, Gil. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And so when I took the bar, I was on the other side of this, and I had all kinds of conspiracy theories as well. I thought it was completely subjective. I actually thought that the bar was conspiring with the convention centers and the hotels and they were paying paint under the table to create more business for the convention centers and the hotels. So you fail more people, and more people need to book more convention centers and more hotels. And I thought the bar had, got together in secret rooms and found ways to make things harder for people. And now that I've been a part of this, I think that I'm kind of on the other side of this. I think the bar is more lazy than anything, and they just want to. Certainly don't want to make it easy, but they also don't want to put a lot of their own effort into thinking about it either. So I don't think they get together and think about all these ways to screw people. I think they just they just believe that it should be a hard exam, but they want to make it as easy on themselves as possible and do the least work possible
Right.
to make it hard.
Yeah. People want to just do the basic and then move on. I mean, people are already busy as it is, including people at the state bar.
Right.
Okay, great. So let's go on to the next question.